participants of today's debate are Christophe, Yanti, Julio, and Edouard. Welcome. Now, first of all, the largest part of the energy used by households is derived from fossil sources. In the combustion of these fossil fuels, a lot of carbon dioxide is released. Moreover, they cause pollution. The vast majority of energy we use, about 93%, comes from fossil fuels, oil, natural gas, and coal. These fossil fuels are responsible for greenhouse gas emissions, and in addition, they also cause a lot of pollution, and since they are not unlimitedly available, it is destined that they will run out. The present system of energy has to change. To minimize adverse impacts such as climate change, maybe we should work on the development of clean fossil fuels and sustainable alternative fuels. So, Julio, tell me, what do you think? Do you think alternative energy can replace fossil fuels or not?
Yes, of course, because alternative energy is the future for me. Fossils and nuclear raw materials are limited, so an example is natural gas. This gas will be exhausted in 60 years. We have to do something because right now we have to change our lifestyle and by alternative energy. We can stop the climate change, but when we wait, there is no way back.
Okay, Yanti, what do you think about this subject? Do you think alternative energy can replace fossil fuels or not?
I don't think so, because if you are using alternative energy, you need many things to make it, like biofuel. You need many space, you need fields with corn, and it's really huge. You need really huge. So if you take all the nature, the trees, the plants, the animals away, the nature isn't in the right place over there. So there is no animal life anymore. There are no trees anymore, so there will be more pollution. So I think the fuel, the basic fuels, like the fossil fuels, I think we have to remain it. Okay.
Okay. Edouard, do you agree with Yanti or do you agree with Julio?
I agree with Yanti more because if you take, for example, wind or solar energy, it's very undependable. So one day you have the sun, one day you don't have it, and the wind is also very undependable. So and also the end product of those alternative energies is electricity, and you can't store a large amount of electricity, so you can't save it for later. For example, if the sun is out for like 1 week, a lot, you can't store a big amount of electricity for example, the year later when there's no sun or no wind. And it's the same for nuclear energy. It's also all the time electricity, and you can't store it in large amounts.
I don't agree with it because fossils are also limited. Within a few years, we have no oil, we have no natural gas, we have no other things, so we can't produce energy.
A few years, that's a bit exaggerated, no? I think it's...
Yes, but in 60 years, there will be no natural gas. That's a good example. Within 50 years, there will be no oil.
Are you sure? Because I read that there's still 300 years or 400 years to go.
No.
Well, opinions definitely
That's the reason.
differ on this, on how long the fossil fuels will remain to be able to provide us of electricity. But Christophe, what's your opinion? Do you think alternative energy can replace fossil fuels?
Yes, I also agree with Giulio, because I think the main reason of alternative energy is also to reduce the CO2 emissions, because we have to reduce the carbon footprint these days, because that's a very how do I say it? Fault in this moment. And it's also very important for our future children and grandchildren and the future with 100 years maybe. So I think it's very important that we use alternative energy these days. And also like what Edward said, when you have no sun, you can always produce some sunlight energy, because it's not when there are clouds. It's not bad for the solar. How do you call them?
Yeah.
They always produce some energy from the sun and also from the moon. And it's very important, I think, to use those things.
Yes, but
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, the sun
I
gives
agree
also
with
light to the
Christophe.
world from the sun. The moon, the moon gives also light, not a very strong light, but sometimes it's enough to produce some energy from the moon alone.
Okay, so if we know that solar panels also work with moonlight, isn't that the ultimate solution then, if we
No.
have sunlight from the sun and also light from the moon? Janti or Edward?
Well, but I agree that there has to be an alternative energy like solar or wind, but you can never how do you say it? The whole economy of a whole land can't live of alternative energy. You still need the fossil fuels. So you can have a little amount of alternative energy, like tidal energy or something. That could be very important for a local city or something, but it can never sustain the whole economy.
There is an island yes, I have an example. Costa Rica is an island, and they use alternative energy to produce energy, and they don't use any fossils.
Okay, but is it a city like New York or?
When Costa Rica can do this, Belgium can also do this.
Oh, because they have a lot more sun than we have. Huh? How do you suggest we use enough alternative energy?
We have wind and other.
Yes, but it can never be enough.
Also produce energy by watercraft or other things. There's not only solar, there's not only the sun that produce energy, and people don't realize that nuclear power also makes radioactive waste. It's very dangerous. Nuclear power is very dangerous for the people. A good example is Fukushima. Nuclear power waste is only deadly. It causes cancer and it causes genetic mutations, and we have to find other ways to produce energy.
Because that is an alternative energy source. Huh?
Well, let's not say nuclear energy is an alternative energy source, because it also produces a lot of waste. like nuclear waste. But like Janti said in the beginning of our debate, he said that the alternative energy takes up way too much space. How do you want to solve this problem, Christophe?
I'm not agree with that because solar panels, yeah, they are not a waste of place, I think, because we have our roofs, for example, and there is nothing on the roof, so why we don't install some solar panels on it? I don't think that's a waste of place. Also, how do you call to absorb the wind? The wind turbines?
The turbines, yes.
Turbines.
Okay,
Yeah,
they are very
turbines.
large, but they are large because they are very high. But the surface where they build it, it's not very big because there are a lot of wind turbines that they plant into the ocean, and I think there's nobody who passed the ocean at that place, so why don't build some wind turbines there? I don't think it's
Yeah, but if
There are animals in the sea. So like birds, if they fly over the sea, I want to have a dinner, so a fish, and they're going down, and they don't see the wind turbine, and they're dead.
Yeah, that's true. I
It's the same
heard
like
about that.
the production of the solar panels. The production of a solar panel to generate electricity, it's use some toxic and explosive gases. So it's not that clean to produce energy.
Okay, so Janti says that.
Emission is too high.
I'm sorry, I
What?
didn't
Can you
understand
repeat?
it.
The problem is now our emission is too high. You can say the wind turbines are not good for the animals in the sea, but we can also say oil in the sea is also not good for the animals. So,
that's true.
do you understand? The fossils are not
Yes.
I heard one time, but I don't know if it's true that if you take 100 square kilometers in the Sahara and you fill it with solar panels, that the whole world has enough electricity. So, but it costs like $300 billion or something. So nobody's gonna pay it. But it
They
can be a
don't
solution.
do it
Yeah,
because they
see,
give
so what
the reason they
what Edward is trying to say is that
because they don't want to be independent of other countries for their energy production. That's the
So
reason why
there's
they
always a
don't
problem.
put solar system in the Sahara. When one country will produce all the energy for the whole world, they with all the problems and all the in the world, they don't do it.
But I think with what Edward says, so he says that we could only provide enough electricity for everybody if we would fill up the whole Sahara. So, and that would cost, how much would it have cost, Edward?
I think it was something like $800 billion.
Okay, so
I'm not sure.
do you
I'm not
see,
sure.
if we would have to
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Go for it.
Do you know how much it costs to build a nuclear power reactor?
No, but I think the return on investment is much bigger there than with the solar panels.
About 30 billion euros for one reactor.
Yes, but how much do you gain
France,
with it?
in the north of France, and it costs too much money. I think they are investing in some waste. I think.
But Gio, you can't forget that nuclear energy is also an alternative energy.
Well, and let's not say that because nuclear energy also
No. Okay. Well,
This nuclear is not.
I don't
not-
agree with that.
No.
But I think
Okay, but let's now talk about the chances alternative energy could provide. For example, it could develop a lot of new jobs for the new alternative
Yes.
energy producing. What do you have to say about this new chance in creating jobs, Yanti?
I think in the future, in the history, we made a lot of jobs using the fossil energy. So
Yes.
I changed to another energy and create new jobs.
Okay, so
I think
I think that this can bring us to a new thing to discuss.
Yes.
Should you immediately transfer to a new kind of energy providing? Should we immediately change from fossil fuels to alternative energy, or should we do it step by step?
Step by step. Huh?
yeah, I think step by step also.
Step by step, but now
Um,
because there is no so much time now to.
Well, a lot of research has told us that
Alternative energy
without the fossil fuel we have right now, we wouldn't be able to even go to alternative energy. So maybe we should just use up. So we should use all of the fossil fuels we already have right now to invest it in making new alternative energy. So that would mean that we would still have to, I think it's about 300 years or something that it should be possible for us to live for another 300 years on only fossil fuels. Now, we're speaking about the fossil fuels, we're already trying to get out we're already, what's it called, using. So no newer fossil fuel springs or whatever it's called. So 300 years, is that too long before we totally replace fossil fuels with alternative energy? 300 years.
I think that's too long. Because also with the problem with
Yeah, that's too long.
with the ozone, with the hole in the ozone, I think 300 years is too much time to swap over to alternative energy. Also, for the footprint, like I said before, I think we have to do it with now and 50 years. I think that's possible to.
Studies tells us that.
Yeah, Julio?
A study tells us that we have till 2050 to do something. When you do nothing till 2050, the problems will. We can't solve the problems anymore. Now we can solve the problems when we do now something, but when we wait, the problems will be grown and there is no way back.
Isn't it a solution to
Europe
use less energy?
Excuse me?
The solution is to use less energy than we use at the moment.
I agree with that.
We don't have to invent new systems, new alternative energies. Now we have to look what we are doing now. How much do we spend? How much energy do we spend, and reduce that instead of inventing new systems, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No, but maybe we think too big.
Europe. And that's the reason why Europe created some targets for 2020. They want to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions by 20% compared by 1990. They want to share the renewables to 20%, and they want to move towards 20% more energy efficiency. So this will increase the GDP of Europe by 34 billion euros. So it's also good for the economy that we invest in alternative energy. And it also will create 2,800,000 jobs in Europe.
Okay.
Now, the renewable energy sector is one of the fastest growing sectors in Europe.
That's true. And now I also read something that was telling us that not the big we could. There was a statement from a professor. He was saying that we couldn't totally replace fossil fuels by alternative energy. We could only replace the fossil fuels used by transport by alternative energy. So the electricity we use for our the fossil fuels we use for transport should be replaced with electric cars and stuff. That's the only way we can. That's the only category we can totally replace fossil fuels by alternative energy. So only in transport. What do you think about that statement, Julio? Or Christophe?
Christophe.
Yeah, my internet was not that good at that moment.
I didn't understand very well.
The question?
Okay, so there was a statement in which the statement said that we couldn't totally replace all fossil fuel usage. We could only replace the fossil fuel usage in transport. So the oil used by cars and planes and such, that's the only oil we can spare because we couldn't fully provide enough electricity with alternative energy for the households, only for the transport. Do you agree with the statement or not?
Oh, maybe, and these days there are a lot of new developments, so maybe some professors can create a new way of fuel, maybe a biofuel or an alternative fuel, maybe also with solar panels on the airplanes, I don't know. But yeah, I think that's not for this moment, I think. But maybe for 20, 30 years that they can create something like that. And maybe it's true for this moment that we need the fuel for transport at this moment. I think that's true. But in future, maybe we can change that by some new developments.
Okay. I think we can kind of end this debate because I can say that in the future we have to fully replace fossil fuels by alternative energy, not only because of the greenhouse gas emissions or the economical footprint, but also because we will eventually run out of fossil fuels. So whether or not we will replace all of the fossil fuels in the near future, that's not yet fully agreed on, but in the further future, we will eventually have to replace all of the fossil fuels by alternative energy.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes, okay, you can
Just
still
one
add something,
little thing.
please.
I think it's most important thing is that we don't think too big. Is that just an individual person has to turn off the lights in his house, that will make already a very big difference, I think.
Yes,
Yes, I agree.
maybe
Like
that's
all
true.
those small
Also,
little lights.
something for
it will
the
make a big
future, we
difference.
should all reduce on our energy spending.
Yes.
Okay, so I thank you all for participating in this debate. Until next time, I guess.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Salut.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.